Anthropic's Fable 5 comeback may be closer than anyone expected. Everything surrounding Anthropic's Fable 5 has changed, and it has happened remarkably fast. Over the past several days, leaked production code, changes inside Amazon Bedrock, growing political pressure in Washington, and shifting negotiations with the U.S. government have all begun pointing in the same direction. While Anthropic has not officially announced a relaunch, multiple signals suggest that Fable May 5th be moving toward a return. What's even more interesting is that it may come back under a better pricing model than originally planned. The code leak that started everything. The biggest clue came from a leak inside Claude code. An ex-user known as Synthwaved claimed to have inspected the production binaries of Claude code and discovered new interface strings referencing Fable 5. One message stood out. You've used your included Fable 5 usage for this week. At first glance, that might sound insignificant. But compared to previous versions, it represents a major change. Earlier builds reportedly described Fable 5 as something that would be purchased separately from your plan. Those references have now disappeared. Instead, the software now refers to included weekly usage credits, implying that subscribers could receive a weekly allocation of Fable 5 access as part of their existing subscription instead of paying an additional premium fee. If these leaked strings accurately reflect Anthropic's current plans, it would represent a much more consumer-friendly rollout than originally expected. Independent reporting has confirmed that references to Fable 5 do exist inside recent Claude code builds, although Anthropic has not publicly explained what they mean. Why production code matters. Companies frequently leave unfinished features inside software. But rewriting pricing logic inside a production build is very different from simply adding placeholder text. When subscription messaging, usage limits, and billing rules are modified in software that is already shipping to users, it usually suggests that the feature is still being actively developed rather than abandoned. That doesn't guarantee an imminent launch, but it is a stronger signal than marketing rumors alone. Amazon Bedrock adds another clue. The software leak isn't the only evidence. Several reports indicate that references to Fable 5 quietly reappeared inside Amazon Bedrock documentation and model listings. Unlike user interface text, enterprise cloud infrastructure generally reflects back-end deployment work rather than future concepts. Companies rarely restore documentation for enterprise AI services unless preparations are underway. While Amazon and Anthropic have not officially announced a relaunch, the appearance of these references has fueled speculation that technical deployment work is continuing behind the scenes. Washington is facing a deadline. The political timeline may be just as important. Lawmakers recently requested additional information from the U.S. Commerce Department regarding the government's restrictions on Anthropic's most advanced AI models. As that deadline approaches, pressure has increased for regulators to clarify their position and explain what conditions must be met before restrictions can be reconsidered. Whether that results in an immediate decision remains uncertain, but the timing has become difficult to ignore. A different competitive landscape. Just weeks ago, Anthropic appeared to be on the defensive. Now, the competitive landscape looks very different. If Fable 5 returns after extensive government review, Anthropic could market it as one of the most heavily scrutinized commercial AI systems ever released. For enterprise customers focused on compliance, cybersecurity, and government procurement, that level of oversight could become an unexpected competitive advantage rather than a setback. How we got here. Fable 5 launched as Anthropic's most capable generally available model, while Mythos 5 remained restricted to approved partners through Project Glasswing. Soon afterward, U.S. government actions created uncertainty around access to the models because of national security concerns related to advanced AI capabilities. Anthropic has consistently argued that many of the highlighted risks are not unique to its models and that similar capabilities already exist across competing frontier AI systems. Negotiations appear to have evolved. According to multiple reports, discussions between Anthropic and U.S. officials have gradually shifted away from debating individual jailbreaks and toward broader safety frameworks. Rather than attempting to eliminate every possible exploit, the emerging focus appears to be continuous monitoring, rapid reporting of newly discovered vulnerabilities, and ongoing cooperation between AI companies and government agencies. If accurate, That represents a significant change in the relationship between regulators and frontier AI developers. Leadership changes behind the scenes. Reports also suggest Anthropic adjusted who represented the company during negotiations. Several outlets claim that other executives took on a larger role in discussions with government officials, helping improve communication and move technical conversations forward. Anthropic has not publicly detailed these internal decisions, but observers believe the change helped create a more collaborative atmosphere during negotiations. The twist nobody expected. Perhaps the most remarkable claim is that Anthropic may have already completed training its next-generation frontier model while Fable 5 remains under restrictions. If true, it highlights an important reality about AI development. Restricting deployment does not necessarily slow research. In some cases, limiting public access can actually free up enormous computing resources that would otherwise be dedicated to serving millions of users. Resources that can instead be redirected toward training even more capable systems. That raises a larger question facing policymakers worldwide. Can governments realistically slow AI progress by regulating deployments, or does innovation simply continue behind closed doors? What happens next? Right now, the evidence forms an intriguing pattern rather than a definitive conclusion. Production code references have changed. Enterprise infrastructure appears to be updating, political negotiations continue. Government pressure is increasing, Anthropic's next generation of models may already be waiting in the wings. None of these signals alone confirms an imminent return. But taken together, they suggest that the story of Fable may 5th be entering its next chapter sooner than many expected. The coming days could determine whether Anthropic's flagship AI makes its comeback, or whether the company faces another unexpected delay. Based on the latest reporting, there are several important developments and industry trends that can strengthen your story beyond the original script. One key point is that some of the strongest evidence for an imminent return has also been challenged by Anthropic itself. For example, while leaked Claude code strings and Bedrock references fueled speculation, Anthropic employees publicly stated that Fable 5 is still serving zero traffic, suggesting that UI strings alone should not be interpreted as confirmation of a relaunch. The bigger AI story nobody is talking about. The Fable 5 controversy is actually much bigger than one AI model. It may become the moment historians look back on as the beginning of AI export controls. Much like semiconductor export restrictions reshaped the global chip industry over the last 5 years. Until now, governments have largely regulated AI chips like NVIDIA's GPUs. What happened with Anthropic is fundamentally different. For the first time, a frontier AI model itself, not just the hardware running it, has become the target of national security policy. That changes everything. Instead of asking, who owns the chips? Policymakers are beginning to ask, who should be allowed to access the intelligence? That represents an entirely new era for artificial intelligence. The rise of AI geopolitics. Only a year ago, the biggest competition in AI was about benchmark scores. Could OpenAI beat Anthropic? Could Google surpass OpenAI? Could xAI catch everyone? Today, the conversation has shifted. Governments are increasingly treating frontier AI models as strategic national assets, similar to advanced semiconductors, satellites, or cryptographic technology. The value of the model is no longer measured only by how smart it is. It's measured by what it could enable. Whether that's cybersecurity, biological research, software engineering, or military planning, governments are beginning to see advanced AI as infrastructure that requires oversight rather than simply another cloud service. That is a profound shift in how the industry operates. Enterprise AI is entering a new phase. Ironically, government scrutiny could end up benefiting companies like Anthropic. Large enterprises don't necessarily want the fastest AI. They want the safest AI. Banks, defense contractors, healthcare companies, critical infrastructure operators. These organizations increasingly ask questions that sound less like Silicon Valley and more like compliance departments. Has this model been independently evaluated? What security controls exist? What regulatory frameworks apply? If Fable 5 eventually returns after months of government review, Anthropic could market it as one of the most extensively examined commercial AI systems ever deployed. For Fortune 500 customers, that may become a selling point rather than a disadvantage. AI companies are quietly changing their business models. Another important trend is happening beneath the surface. The leaked subscription strings suggest Anthropic may be moving away from charging separately for every premium capability. Instead, advanced models may increasingly become part of subscription tiers with weekly usage limits. That reflects a broader industry trend. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, Microsoft, and others are gradually shifting from simple, pay-per-model pricing toward usage bundles, credits, and premium plans that resemble cloud computing more than traditional software licensing. The real competition is no longer just about building the smartest model. It's about building the pricing model customers actually want. Agentic AI is becoming the new battleground. While the headlines focus on Fable 5's availability, the rest of the AI industry has already moved toward autonomous AI agents. Today's frontier models aren't simply answering questions anymore. They're writing software, managing long-running coding sessions, planning multi-step research projects, operating tools, coordinating multiple workflows simultaneously. Recent research from OpenAI shows that usage of agentic AI systems has grown dramatically in 2026, with organizations increasingly using AI to complete complex, multi-hour tasks instead of simple chatbot interactions. AR14. That means the next generation of competition won't simply be which chatbot is smarter. It will be which AI can successfully complete an 8-hour project without human intervention. The compute paradox. There's another consequence few people have discussed. Training and serving AI models compete for the same computing resources. When millions of users interact with a model every day, enormous GPU clusters are dedicated to inference. If a flagship model is suddenly taken offline, much of that infrastructure can potentially be redirected toward research and training. That creates an unexpected paradox. Restricting deployment doesn't necessarily slow AI progress. In some cases, it may actually accelerate development of the next generation. If Anthropic has already completed training a successor while Fable 5 remains unavailable, as some reports suggest, that would perfectly illustrate this dynamic. The regulatory domino effect. Perhaps the most important long-term implication is that every frontier AI lab is watching this situation closely. OpenAI, Google DeepMind, xAI, Meta, Mistral. If governments establish a formal approval process for one frontier model, competitors may eventually face similar requirements before releasing their own most powerful systems. That could fundamentally change how AI launches happen. Instead of companies announcing a model immediately after training finishes, future releases may first pass through months of government review, cybersecurity evaluations, and national security assessments. The smartphone industry had app stores. The semiconductor industry has export licenses. Frontier AI may soon have regulatory clearance as a standard part of every major launch. The bottom line. Whether Fable 5 returns this week or several months from now, the bigger story isn't about one model. It's about the transformation of the AI industry itself. We're moving from an era where companies raced to release increasingly capable models, to an era where governments, regulators, cloud providers, and enterprise customers all have a say in when and how the world's most powerful AI systems reach the public. Fable May 5th simply be the first major test case for what that future looks like.